steal by Denver, and here comes Jokic, who is having an incredible season. Picking a screen, Jokic a three. Underneath, Brown to Jokic, and a foul, count it! The lead is 10. Jokic points.
Just a great job on the seal and the delivery by Brown, but Jokic just continues to own.
Westbrook.
Keep in mind, 5 fouls on both Gobert and Edwards.
Jokic to the hole. 1-point game. Jokic will control. Randall is there. The twirling Jokic. A tough shot. Got it. What a play. Gordon will take it. Sets up. Jokic. Three.
All right, that was Nikola Jovic, of course, getting a career of 61 points as he recorded the highest scoring triple doubles when it comes to the world of basketball. Definitely the Sam, the 3-time MVP, claiming 10 rebounds with 10 assists in a 140 at 139 overtime defeat by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the world of basketball. A wonderful display for this particular man. The last time this happened, it is one of the teammates, of course, talking about Russell, also reaching that particular mark, who scored 57 points when it comes to the world of basketball. And of course, with that, we'll start the Yow Sports Days a day, whereby we will give you some of the latest update news from the camp of the Super Eagles. And of course, we have a lot coming from the local scene. Definitely, most Akida in the news this morning. And of course, from the Premier League games were played, and hopes for Team Arsenal as they defeat Fulham 2-1. Is there still hope for them for the Premier League? The time will tell. My name is Stephen Najan, and of course, welcome to Yow Sports Centre, right here, where we give you the best sporting stories. And before we move on straight to the world of football, let us give you these updates coming in from the world of tennis. So sad about hopefully she would be back right there to the court, talking about the Britain Jones, of course, collapsed on the court right there in Colombia. Of course, she was being carried out through a wheelchair after collapsing during that particular court. And of course, hopefully she will get better from that particular side. And don't forget that she was in action in Colombia and she collapsed. And of course, we had medics on across to her to lift her up through the wheelchair. And our opponent, talking about Julian Reina, walk over to check on her. But we'll give you more updates on that if time progress. And let's go move on straight to a world of football. And before we move on straight to football, definitely I'm not only here in the studio, I'm here with Abiodun Ogundikpe, and he will be here to give us more analysis when it comes to the world of sports. Good afternoon, Abiodun Ogundikpe.
Good afternoon, Stephen. It's good to be back in the studio once again.
Definitely, once again, of course, it's a very wonderful weekend whereby the return of the club encounter. We saw, Real Madrid, the Real Sociedad, we saw the Premier League, and of course, a couple of games that went down in the FA Cup round right there in the weekend. What can you say about the games across the club centre? And don't forget, before we talk about that, let's just paraphrase what went down in the qualification of the World Cup, talking about Super Eagles of Nigeria. It was, it's another disappointing 1-1 draw against Zimbabwe. We saw the frustration from Victor Osimhen. We saw the frustration from the fans of the Super Eagles. Definitely, what would you say about that?
Well, it's a tough one because we keep saying that there are no minnows again in African football. Small teams can spring up surprises against the big name teams like Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. You never can tell what will happen at the end of the day. For me, football really ends after we are gone after 90 minutes. So, and we saw it at the start of this World Cup qualification series under Super Cero, the coach then, when Rwanda defeated us here at home, and that was the start of our struggle. Then we went to other games, we stabilized a bit, but then coming back to this last two games, first against Rwanda away from home, and then in the last one here at the Akpabio Stadium. Against Rwanda, we played well, but then I think we dropped the ball a bit in the second half. The tempo decreased a bit in the second half, but then we are still dominant, we are still in control, we are still in charge. But we had a 2-goal cushion, and that was coming for us. And people were saying, "Oh, we're going to win all the rest of our matches." I tell people, football is not mathematics. It is difficult. You can't say until the whistle have gone after 90 minutes. And of course, it played out in that match. Some people have said that stadium, Goodwill Akpabio Stadium, has not been a good hunting ground for the Super Eagles. But then that's only approved stadium.
I think that's one of the best stadium in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, it's the best stadium in Nigeria, and the only approved FIFA stadium to host FIFA matches. So we have no choice than to play at that stadium. But then we need to get our ass together. We need to focus and then give in our very best anytime we are playing, either at Goodwill Akpabio Stadium, either at home or away. We have to give 100%. We have to be on top of our game. For me, in that match, we are not on top of our game. We had some, challenges. The team started well, like a house on fire, and then everything went down after the Osimhen goal, where there was not much action. We need to be more coordinated, and I think this has been because of a series of actions taken in the past. For me, we had too much change of coaches. After we unceremoniously sacked Genotro, we brought in, I think, Iguavan to stabilize, to hold on a bit. After that, we brought in Joseph Peseiro. He took us to the AFCON. After the AFCON, he left. After making a name for himself, taking the Super Eagles to the final, coming second, he left. He didn't serve very well. It was a short period. After that, we brought in, for a very short period, Finidi George. And after Finidi George also left unceremoniously after a lot of crisis, which for me, the NFF did not address very well. You should address it very well and bring it to a logical conclusion to bring confidence, assurance to the team and say, this is where we are going, this is the voice of the NFF, this is the direction of football. But the officials did not say anything, and then we brought in again Eric Chell. So those changes are too frequent. The direction, the players might not be focused, might not be stable, may not have a direction that we are going.
But looking into that particular encounter that went against Zimbabwe, would you blame the manager? Because at some point we saw Eric Chile at the touchline. You could see him standing, showing his.
I think that's very mannerism, his way of coping with the pressure. But then give it to him. The first match he took us against Rwanda away. He did very well. And for me, people are saying, what's the expectation? And I said, I don't have any expectation because I don't really know Eric Chell as a coach. I don't really have his pedigree and what he can do. I can't vouch for him, and I can't say, oh, I'm against, I don't know. Let's see what he's going to do. And he did well. We brought in our A game, though we dropped the ball a bit in the second half. The tempo reduced a bit, but then he did very well. And of course, I think it's the usual Nigeria mentality or lethargic approach. When things are going well, we tend to relax a bit, and then things tend to go wrong. Then we come back again, fire brigade approach, and then I start getting results. But then we are not consistent, we are not stable. That must be this consistency, that must be stability, where we follow a trajectory that is stable, that is straight like that. Not to play well today and drop the ball.
I understand, but I pray it shouldn't be the time where we start using calculation to qualify for the World Cup.
It's most likely.
It's to this. Now we have 4 matches left, and that should be in September, and we are actually we're in fourth position, and of course with enough of points ahead of us, and we still have a lot of mountain to climb. We still have South Africa to play. Rwanda again.
Yes. So when somebody after the win against Rwanda, someone said, no, we're going to win the rest of our matches. I told them, football is not mathematics. It's not easy like that. Even if we win the rest of our matches, we're expecting to win the rest of our matches. I expect other teams are for us to draw points. That is for me wishful thinking. We just need to do right now. What we need to do is do our own work, get results on the field. The results of other matches is not enough. That's what even before this last series of matches, I've told people the results of other matches is not enough, and we can't determine it. There's nothing we can do about it. So it's very difficult for us. Even if we win all our matches, are we sure those ahead of us are going to drop points? So for me, it's going to come down to calculation. Look at South Africa display. Their last 2 matches, they won 2-0 comfortably. And I keep telling people, the quarterfinal match against South Africa, the last AFCON that we played, they took us to the limit. They took us to the wire, and it was on penalty. And for me, I said we were a bit lucky in that match because we saw the South African goalkeeper in the previous match because they played the penalty, and we knew it was good, and that gave us the advantage to work that when you get to penalties, this is how we can beat the goalkeeper. If we had not seen that goalkeeper in the previous match, South would have probably beaten us to that match when it got to penalties. And even during extra time, they had 2 good chances to score, which they lost by whiskers. For me, overall, they were a bit better than us. They had the edge, a bit over us in that match. So it's going to be a tough one. And that they are still maintaining that tempo. That coach is still the same coach in the saddle for South Africa. We have had about 3 coaches in that space of time. So those are the challenges our football is facing.
Well, a lot for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But let's quickly move on to one of the big headlines, talking about the NBBF president, talking about Musa Akida, of course, appointed to the NNPC board. Of course, the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, talking about Engineer Musa Akida, has been appointed as the non-executive chairman of the NNPC Limited Board of Presidents by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that is when it comes to reconstitution of the NNPC Limited Board. Of course, Musa Akida, what would you say about this?
He's somebody who is very passionate about sport, about basketball. He has been contributing to the growth and development of basketball in Nigeria. I think he's part of the basketball association in Africa and of course in the world. And of course, it's good for him. It's somebody who's vibrant, who is committed, who sets high targets, high goals. For what he has done in basketball in Nigeria and of course in Africa, is somebody who produces results in NNPC board. And of course, he will use his influence to get some support, sponsorship for basketball and sport generally in Nigeria. So it's an appointment that is well deserved, because this is somebody, I can't count the number of years now that he has been there in basketball, doing very well, laying out, supporting basketball in Nigeria, promoting basketball in Nigeria, taking our team. Look at the transformation we've seen in the Tigers and the Tigress. Before we used to play second, even third fiddle to teams like Senegal.
Did make history in the Olympics?
Yes, we've been to the Olympics. We've made history for years now. We've been the best team in Africa, male and female basketball. Yes, at times we have challenges where other teams come in to challenge us, but then our domination, we've had the edge in Africa, and that's kudos to this man. He's been able to scout for good coaches, put stability in that team. Basketball has not been our, priority sport in Nigeria. It's always been football, but then he has brought basketball to the limelight in Nigeria. Even beyond Nigeria, the name Nigeria in basketball has been resonating very well in Africa and of course around the world. We played a match where we played one of the top basketball teams. We played a draw, with them. Even some of them we've taken them to the cleaners. So he has been behind all this over the years, and so I believe that commitment, that hard work, that results he has achieved with basketball, he can translate also in NNPC, and of course bring sponsorship support to basketball from the oil and gas sector.
NPFL, definitely a poor run right there in the NPFL, and it seems that frustration from the fans, and of course they attack them in the training section. So we're talking about indiscipline, we're talking about coordinating. At some period of time, I can see it has reduced. Whereby an away game, we see attack on the fans in the stadium. So what do you say about these? Talking about lobby stars, poor run, and of course fans being frustrated.
Yes, it's not been a very exciting season for lobby stars. They've endured a poor season based on results they've been getting, and of course fans want to see good football. They want to see their teams at the upper part of the table, struggling out with the big guys, gunning for the title, gunning for continental tickets or something like that. But there's no joy going to the stadium to see your team lose, and not doing well. So nobody's happy about that. But then I think the fans are taking things too far. If you can attack your own team in a training session, it's very bad. And I think the club will have to take that up with the security agencies, because that would be a criminal case if you go into the stadium, go and meet the players, attack them. If that had been during the match, maybe the MPFL authorities will have fined the team itself for not providing security, because you must provide security for even the fans, for your team, and even the opposing teams, and of course the officials, and even the press guys. But then this is a training session, and these guys came in to attack the players. So it's a criminal case. They have to take it up with the security agencies to fish out those who are guilty of this. And of course, give them beef up security for them for further training and of course even matches, because it shows that the fans are not happy, and but then that does not give them the right to do that, and that will not even change the trajectory of the results for the team. So they just need to support the club to get the best results, to make the best out of the situation they are, rather than going there to attack them.
All right, so let's move away from the local scene. Definitely, let's go straight to the Premier League. Of course, 3 games went down right there yesterday night, and of course, it's an exciting game. But before then, let us check out some of the highlights of the games.
Larson heads the penalty area, shooting and scoring.
All right, that was the highlights of the Premier League. Of course, we saw Arsenal kept their Premier League title hopes alive right there in the Premier League, of course, against Fulham. Of course, Calvin Bassey, Alex will be on bench when it comes to that particular encounter. They are now 9 points behind Liverpool leaders. Any hope for Arsenal right in the Premier League?
Very slim hope. I don't expect Liverpool to capitulate or melt down at this point. Yes, they've lost out in the FA Cup, in the Champions League. They are now left with the Premier League. I think this will allow them the opportunity to concentrate and focus very well. They have a very healthy lead over Arsenal, and I think they should just take it 1 point at a time. I know those the players, the team, they're disappointed because they were going in for 4 initially, then 4 titles, then it said, okay, realistically we can go for 3, and of course 3 has now become 1. So they just take it as consolation and focus on this, and then get the results. I don't think they will melt down or anything. Anything we don't think of will happen. I don't think anything drastic or any disaster will happen for them to lose this night gap lead. So they just focus. Arsenal will keep trying to win, getting points to maintain
for 3 seasons now.
to maintain their second position and go for Champions League and see if they can do it better next season.
Hopefully they can do better. And of course, Saka is back in action for Arsenal. We saw him yesterday.
Very good for him. Came in and then even had the second goal, the winning yesterday.
Very beautiful. And of course, on the other hand, we saw the former Manchester United player, talking about Anthony Laga, of course, got the only goal for Nottingham Forest against Manchester United. We call them the struggling Manchester United.
Struggling. This is the first time since 1991, 92, or 92, 93 season that Nottingham Forest have done a double over Manchester United, and of course surprising, by all standards, because if you look at the 2 teams, their pedigree in the Premier League and even in Europe, you don't expect Manchester United, even the players they parade, you don't expect Manchester United to be losing. So when the match was starting yesterday, a friend of mine was talking and said, Manchester United are playing again today. We don't know. I said, it's normal now, they will lose. It's in the win that we are surprised, because we are both Manchester United fans.
Even the fans of United, there's one person they should sing.
Both of us we are Man United fans, and said that when they lose, it's not surprised. When they win, that we are surprised. And we are we lost. So we are surprised. So I think it's sad for Manchester United this season to be losing those guys. Even if you lose, you shouldn't be losing the 2 legs. If something unfortunate happens in the first leg, repackage second leg and get something out of it. But then not even a draw. They lost both legs, so it's poor for them. Bad for Manchester United. For West Ham, I think they're a bit unlucky. Wolves had an early goal. Wolves started very well, and then I think West Ham have been in a very good form, decent form all these, in the past couple of weeks. They brought in new 2 players during the January transfer. Marcus Rashford and Asensio have been doing very well. Rashford scored 2 goals in their last 2, but then, unfortunately for them, they tried to come back. They made some chances, but then they were unlucky. I think they will just repackage from there and go on forward and trying to win other matches. But then, so far, they've had a fairly good season, particularly after the January transfer window. It's been good for them.
All right, good for them. And let me just add this: Premier League to introduce a semi-automated offside technology from the 12th of April. So we'll see some of the advance when it comes to VAR, checking the offside. Of course, we have a lot when it comes to controversial issue offside or not offside. But automated offside technology from April 12th right there in the Premier League, and that is that. Let's pick this from the La Liga. Of course, one man himself, talking about the Jude Bellingham, of course, says that he's ready to stay at Real Madrid for 10 to 15 years. And that is what's from the young, talented midfielder. And of course, a lot of people call him the next Zidane. Do you see? Well, I would say that so far he has proved a lot of people, a lot of people write that of course he can actually succeed successfully Real Madrid, all the way from Dortmund straight, different league for the Bundesliga, straight up to La Liga, and instantly he picked up his form, no delay. So him staying in the next 10 to 15 years, do you see him putting on the shoes of Zidane, or even doing more well than Zidane?
Well, that's a difficult shoe to fill, but I think he's doing very well right now, playing very well, scoring, contributing. The skill that Zidane paraded during his playing days for me were exceptional. We call him the ballerina when he's on the ball. It's a joy and beauty to watch. But Bellingham is also a very good player, with his own set of skills, but then I think he has some similarities with Zidane, but I don't think we can take him as another Zidane. He may go on to do very well for Real Madrid. He's still young. This is his second or third season and has been consistent, doing very well. And if he's still in form and he stays in Madrid for 10-15 years, yes, we achieve great things with that club, no doubt about it. But then that will be another Zidane, might not be, but then we have write his own names in the record books and do well for that club. But then Zidane, every player for me is unique. He was in his own class during his playing days. Ronaldo was in his own class when he was in Real Madrid. We have a lot of players, Guti. We have a lot of big players, come to that club, do well. I think if he stays there for that long, he will write his name in gold. But then, if we have some similarities with Zidane, but then he's not going to be another Zidane for me. There is not going to be another Zidane. Everybody's going to be his own name. But then, he has the potential to do well for that club, to achieve great results, and write his name in gold. He's been fantastic. He's been consistent. He's been very good.
All right. To wrap things up for this particular day, we saw Real Madrid kept their title hopes, the treble hopes alive after the extraordinary fashion against Real Sociedad. It ended 4-4 and of course 5-4 in aggregates, and Real Madrid are through to the next stage when it comes to the Copa del Rey semi-finals. This is Real Madrid going on to winning the treble, talking about the UEFA Champions League, the La Liga, and of course the Copa del Rey.
It's a possibility. They are very close to Barcelona on the La Liga table. I think they are same points, goal difference, but Barcelona has edge based on goal difference. If any of them should slip up, either Barcelona or Real Madrid, I think the other person just have the advantage. But if you look at the form of Barcelona, particularly in the last 5-6 matches, they've been on top form.
Yeah, they've been doing amazing well. They've
been winning convincingly and conveniently. Scoring goals. That's why they've racked up so much goal advantage. So possibility of them dropping points right now is difficult, but then football is no mathematics. One team can just come to 1-0 win, and then destroy that record. And Real Madrid is also pulling its weight. It's not been that easy. Yes, they've been winning, but then if you look at their last couple of wins, they've been slim win, 2-1 win, 2-1 win, 2-1 win. They've been having even this one where they had 4 goals. Where they had 4 goals, the opponents they had 5 goals. The opponents Real Sociedad had 4 goals. It's where they scored. They were high scoring that match, but then it was a slim win with 1 goal advantage. So, but then they can go on and do it. And in Champions League, we know that is the biggest trophy they always fight for every season. And the more we go in the Champions League, the better they become. They grow in confidence. Keep doing well. I think the bit of struggle, the slim wins we've been seeing in Real Madrid, because they are missing some big players like Toni Kroos, who retired at the end of last season. The Croatian who is there, Modric, he is not getting younger. He's old, and he's been used sparingly. He's not playing 90 minutes again. Coming in, he's being used sparingly, so he's not able to contribute. He's not on that level again, but then he still helps. So we are left with the likes of Tchouaméni, Camavinga in the midfield, Bellingham supporting advanced midfield, trying to make things take in the midfield. And of course, the coming in of Mbappe, it took a while for them to blend Mbappe and then Vinicius Junior, but then I think Mbappe is now finding his form. He's second on the goal scorers list behind the Barcelona striker, Lewandowski. So a bit of some changes took them time to adapt to. It affected them a bit, but I think they are finding their feet. Give it to Carlo Ancelotti. He's doing well managing that club, managing the changes, because if you are critical changes like that in those big teams, when they happen, it's difficult for them to go, but then they are managing it very well. And of course, the possibility of them winning at least one or two of those trophies is there for them, and if they can get it all, they can win all the
treble. Yeah, the treble. That is it. And let's do this. One man who has been one of the best strikers so far, Harry Kane, says that he's eager to break his trophy drought, playing for Bayern Munich. Hopefully, we get a trophy to his name. Amazing. He's playing for Tottenham for over many years, going straight to the Bundesliga, and of course, hopefully, need to actually play for. Get that.
He is a great striker, and it's be very poor for him to finish his career without a trophy. He tried to win it at Tottenham, he didn't win it. He came to German Bundesliga because that came to Bayern Munich last season again. Surprisingly,
it's as if he's literally cost, because Bayern Munich has never
they won 11 titles,
winning a single trophy for themselves.
Yes, they won 11 German Bundesliga, and the first season he came nothing for them. So it was like, is it cause, is it jinxed? But then I think this season they are bound to win something. If nothing, they will win the Bundesliga with their position right now. I think so we get a trophy to his name, and a very good one for him.
All right, thank you so much, Abiodun Ogudikpe. And of course, it's time to wrap things up when it comes to Yow Sports Centre. Forget games are going down today in different centers when it comes to the world of sports. So join us same time to get more updates when it comes to the world of sport. Don't forget to like, comment, and share to your friends and family. Thank you so much, Abiodun Ogudikpe.
It's a pleasure being on the program.
All right, my name remains Stephen Ajayi, and of course, I'll leave you with the highlights between Real Madrid and Real Sociedad. Enjoy it.